Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Chat Sports, and today we have some fresh San Francisco 49ers news and rumors all getting us ready for the NFC title game coming up in less than a week. How about our 49ers? Before we start, thumbs up this video if you think our 49ers are going to win on Sunday, beat the Packers, and go to the Super Bowl. Drop a thumbs up. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so first bit of 49er news regarding our defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. Good news, 49er fans. Saleh is not going anywhere. He is going to be staying as the defensive coordinator for the 49ers for the foreseeable future because the Cleveland Browns have hired Kevin Stefanki, the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, to be their new head coach. Now, you're wondering, Thomas, why are we reporting about the Vikings hiring, or the Browns hiring the Vikings head coach? Well, if you remember, about a week ago, we had a whole thing here on the channel talking about how our defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, was interviewing with the Cleveland Browns over the weekend during the bye week before the divisional round, which, of course, the Niners ended up beating the Minnesota Vikings. So, Saleh was a top head coaching candidate, along with Josh McDaniels, Kevin Stefanki, other people in and around the National Football League, and it looks like, as we can confirm, the Vikings have officially not hired Saleh, and so he will be staying as the 49ers defensive coordinator. This is great news for the 49ers because it means that their entire staff, you think about this, is going to remain intact most likely for the 2020 season. A lot of times, very good football teams that make it to the NFC title game and to the Super Bowl and even win the Super Bowl are ravaged by coaching hires that leave the team to go get better positions, whether offensive coordinators go become head coaches, defensive coordinators go become head coaches, assistants here and there go to other teams, because when your team is good, that means as a coach, you were a part of why they were good, and other teams want to hire you to bring that culture over to their organization. Think about the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. They win the Super Bowl, and that year, their offensive coordinator, Frank Reich, goes to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. That is what could have happened with Saleh, but in fact, it is not, which is huge news for our 49ers, meaning, again, the entire 2020 coaching staff, at least the core coaching staff, is going to be there in 2020. The Niners can be a very similar team to what they are this year, to what they will be in 2020, maybe even 2021, which means sustained success. Remember, a lot of football teams win a Super Bowl, they get ravaged by not only free agents, but also coaches leaving, like we talked about, and they only are kind of one-and-done teams. They don't stay elite at the top of the game. Not the case, looking like, at least, with our 49ers. Saleh is going to be staying put. We've been flashing some of the defensive stats up in front of you. This is why we're all so excited he's going to be staying. 8th in points per game, 2nd in yards allowed, 1st in passing yards allowed, 17th against the rush. A big reason why, obviously, our Niners are in the NFC title game is because of how great the defense has been overall. I'll finish with this before we move on. If Saleh continues to have great seasons with the 49ers, I would argue if 2020 defensively is similar to what it was this year, he will be an NFL head coach sooner rather than later. So yes, we did not lose them now, but it's just a delayed time bomb, if you will, to where Saleh will be leaving eventually. Thankfully, though, he will at least be here for 2020. Okay, ad break coming up here. Don't worry about the ad up right here on the YouTube video. Just go down below, answer the pinned comment down below that pertains to the NFC title game. Who will be the difference maker in the NFC title game for both teams? Garoppolo? Maybe it's our pass rush. Maybe it's our offensive line. Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers. Let me know what you guys think, and the pinned comment down below. All right, so moving on here, kind of a fun bit of news in terms of Richard Sherman getting drug tested by the National Football League after having one of his more dominant games over the past couple of weeks on Saturday against the Minnesota Vikings. So right after the game, Richard Sherman posted this tweet, which will pull up on your screen right now, saying, "Ha ha ha, ball out and get the double dip, PED and HGH tests. Ha ha ha, gotta love it." So he would later confirm in his typical meetings with the press after the game, saying that yes, he was drug tested right after the game by the National Football League, and he claims it's because he has played so well this season, because he has it at an older age. He's coming off the Achilles injury a couple of years back, and yet has played so well. The NFL finally is like, all right, he's got to be doing drugs. Let's go ahead and test him. Well, PEDs, HGH, apparently they came back negative. He is good to go right now. So Richard Sherman, shocker, newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, is actually a really good cornerback, and is not a good cornerback because of HGH or PEDs. The NFL, I looked into their random drug test claims because the NFL did claim this was a random drug test, and you go through the list of how it works, and it's like every single player has a player ID or like a VIN number on a car, and it gets put into a computer and then randomized, and then it's like, oh, Richard Sherman, gotta go test him, and they'll do it right after a game. But at the same time, it does feel a little bit unrandom, if you will, because Sherman obviously had such a great game, went ahead and got his PED and HGH test. But again, he passed, no worries. But you probably saw that on Twitter and going, what's going on with this? It's just the NFL being the National Football League, and if you're clean like Sherman is, you just do the P-test, they test it, you're fine, you move on, maybe you tweet about how dumb the NFL is for at least doing this. Sherman this year has been fantastic. 3 interceptions, 11 pass deflections, 1 touchdown and on a pick 6, and 48 tackles overall. He is a Pro Bowler. He will be starting most likely in the Pro Bowl unless we make it to the Super Bowl, and it's been a big reason why the 49ers secondary has been one of the best secondaries in the National Football League, and it's been one of the more revitalized secondaries from year to year. Last year, one of the worst rated secondaries in the National Football League. A lot of that was due to Sherman not being 100% healthy, not playing his best football. He'd be the first to admit that. Turn it around this year, and he has been absolutely fantastic. The entire secondary has been great, minus Ahkello Witherspoon, who we'll talk about in a second. But overall, good news for 49er fans. Yes, Sherman was drug tested. No, he did not fail it. He is fine. He will be playing, obviously, on Sunday. Before we move on, is Richard Sherman the best cornerback in the National Football League? Type Y down below for yes. Type N down below for no. I know he's a little older than, say, like a Jalen Ramsey, but where's Jalen Ramsey right now, and where's Richard Sherman right now in the playoffs? That should answer that for you. Go ahead, type Y down below in the comments section for yes. Before we go on, if you guys want to bet on the 49ers on Sunday, 7-point favorites. They opened up against the Green Bay Packers. Our friends at BetDSI, chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code 49ers. You'll get a 120% deposit bonus. Okay, there has not been officially news to make the case that Emmanuel Moseley is starting at cornerback on Sunday, but we need to dive into this anyway. So, Ahkello Witherspoon, who started the year, was a great outside cornerback, was giving up like a 1.9 passer rating through the first 3 or 4 games, gets injured, he goes down, in comes Emmanuel Moseley, he plays great, but then once Witherspoon was ready to go from his injury, came back as a starting cornerback position, and has been the starting cornerback basically ever since. Going into this game, though, on Sunday, all of us, including myself, really, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, I kind of not seen some good things from Ahkello Witherspoon. I would love to see what Emmanuel Moseley has to offer, and sure enough, Witherspoon got beat on a deep ball to Stephon Diggs, had a pass interference call, gone. He was thrown out of there, essentially benched by head coach Kyle Shanahan, and in comes Emmanuel Moseley, and he played very, very well. They have not officially declared him as a starter on Sunday, but I am leaning towards the idea that, yes, he will be the starter on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. Here's what head coach Kyle Shanahan had to say about the cornerbacks in his post-game press conference, saying, quote, "I've got a lot of confidence in Ahkello. I've got a lot of confidence in Emmanuel Moseley. When he's done what he's done when he's come in. We gave Ahkello the start, but he knew it was a very tough decision with the way that E-Man has been playing. He knew if he was struggling at all, we weren't going to hesitate." Now, that obviously tells us that at some point this week, coaches, whether it was Saleh, whether it was Kyle Shanahan, someone else said, "Hey, Ahkello Witherspoon, if you struggle, we will not hesitate to bench you immediately because the Viking wide receivers, Diggs and Thielen, are very, very good." And sure enough, that's what happened. He did struggle. They benched him, and in comes Emmanuel Moseley. Again, no official word. Maybe Shanahan will say it later on today. We're filming a video in the morning here on a Monday. He might say it tomorrow. We'll have the news for you ready to go in a video whenever it drops. But essentially, I would be leaning towards the idea, I'm very confident in the idea, that Emmanuel Moseley will be the starting cornerback on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers, which again, if you watch the Seattle game, which happened yesterday in Green Bay, boy, the Seattle Seahawks cornerbacks had a very, very hard time covering Davante Adams, and Davante Adams is going to line up everywhere on the field for Green Bay. Yes, Sherman will cover him a lot of the time, but Sherman's not going to shadow him, which means Emmanuel Moseley will get some matchups one-on-one against the Green Bay's top receiver, and really, that's the guy I want to be out there over Ahkello Witherspoon. So hopefully, the decision is made at some point during this week that Moseley will be the starter and Witherspoon will back him up. Before we go on, be sure to subscribe to Chat Sports here. We're almost to, 13,000 total subscribers. If we get to 15,000 by the time we win the Super Bowl, that would be fantastic. Click the red subscribe button down below. And also, if you want to shop some NFL playoff gear, all revolving around our 49ers, chatsports.com/NFL playoffs has some great deals for you guys. Go ahead, click the link in the description and check them out. Final bit of news here. I don't know if I call it news, but I wanted to share this with you. The Kwon Alexander factor. Remember, we talked all week, really all month, about when Kwon Alexander could return from his torn pectoral, and he goes into this game and he plays on Sunday for the first time since week 10, and yet if you actually look at the stats, it's like, where was he? Did he really show up? And you watch the game, he didn't play every single snap, obviously, as we predicted, but a lot of the players in the post-game locker room, as I'm listening to interviews and watching the post-game press conference, had very high praise for Alexander being out there. Just his presence alone fuels the defense, and it showed. D Ford back, Tart back, Alexander back. The defense balled out on Saturday afternoon. Here's what Fred Warner, his fiddle linebacker and potential Pro Bowler in terms of being a backup Pro Bowler, had to say about Kwon Alexander. Quote, "There's so much more swag and confidence when he's out there. He's great. I love being out there with him. He's a leader. There's a lot more to it than him just being a good ball player out there. His value is huge for this team." So again, the stats for Kwon Alexander on Sunday were not, jumping off the page, and people were saying, well, maybe Greenlaw should have started anyway because he's more healthy. And yet here we are. Fred Warner, another player, said this too. Just having him out there is a huge, huge thing for our 49ers, and hopefully he gets to play more and more on Sunday, and then not only will his, value being a leader be shown in terms of the wins and losses, but his value in terms of the stats will pop up on the stat sheet as well. So I know a lot of people very curious about how Kwon Alexander would play, and you might kind of casually watch the game and go, not really doing much, not a lot of tackles, not blowing up big plays. At the same time, he's still making a difference out there, still recovering technically from the torn pectoral muscle. He'll be out there on Sunday against Green Bay, and now the hope is another week of rest in terms of this week can get him to be even more productive, but already being a huge leader. It's great to have Kwon Alexander back on that field. Before we move on, final question here. How confident are you with us playing against the Green Bay Packers? Remember, it's Green Bay, not Seattle, which I think a lot of us were excited to not see Russell Wilson again, but Green Bay looked pretty sharp. How confident are you in terms of our 49ers playing against the Green Bay Packers? Let me know in the comments section down below. There you go. All the time we have for today for our 49ers news and rumor video. Again, we're going to have plenty wall-to-wall coverage for our 49ers coming up this week. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And listen, it's championship week. It's NFC Championship game week. Get pumped, get ready, and be sure again to subscribe because we've got plenty of great stuff upcoming for our 49ers. For Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.